Yo, what's up? Today I'm gonna be ranking every unit in Voxel Defenders. Alright, let's get started. By the way, this is, before you skip to the end, this is basically mostly based on harder content, so how each of these towers perform in harder content. Alright, Angela, not very good, not in a great place. Her healing thing doesn't really do anything. She's not very useful. She's not horrible if you're doing like casual mode, but yeah, I wouldn't use her. Anlibus, this guy's rate is far too slow. He's too expensive. He doesn't really have any good power spikes until his last upgrade, and his ability's good, but it has kind of a long cooldown. His prime is really good, super high DPS, but of course he's a melee unit, so he's going to be definitely a lot weaker, like all the other melee units. Blizz is not bad. I would also put him in the C tier between these two guys. He's really cheap. He can slow down bosses at literally his first stage, but there's better alternatives in my opinion. Destiny's bad. I guess you could put Destiny up here, but Destiny's really not that great. Dexter's pretty decent. Not super expensive, gets a really big AoE, does decent damage, so you compare him with like Miguel or something and he takes out all the small things. Miguel takes out higher HP enemies. Gabriel's broken, you need to have him super OP. Glitchware is also super OP. Really high DPS. Hazmat. Hazmat's like top of C tier, he's good. You can use him in the beginning for some really hard content, but typically there's going to be a better alternative. And if you're not using him, like he's really niche, if you're not using him for like really hard content at the beginning, then you're probably not, and then you probably won't need him, because he's horrible late game. Gen's horrible. Cloner's pretty good. Cloner's, I would say Cloner's like A tier. Yeah, Cloner's A tier. Cloner's good. Get Cloner if you can. Lumi's S tier. AoE to carry the mid game. Got the slow for the bosses, fire for the bosses. Overall, just helps a lot. Good unit, very versatile. Miguel's super good, hits super hard, instant camo detection, pretty cost efficient, good for harder content, and if you need someone to deal with the camo detection. Miner's absolutely broken, super good early game, super good every stage of the game, give you more money, basically needed in harder content, basically needed in any kind of content. Pierce is good, Pierce is great for the mid game. Pretty strong, can micro him to deal with tough bosses and tough waves. Definitely worth picking up. Really good for Secret 3 as well. So, Pow is he's kind of been outclassed by, or power creeped by other characters. He's not horrible, but he doesn't really excel at anything. Yeah. So. Pow's not horrible, but he's not great either. Pumpy is a pretty good starter. Big AoE, fire damage, pretty cost efficient. If you're on harder content, this guy can be a really helpful starter. Basically nobody has him, but that's alright. Siborg he's not bad. He gets early camo detection, but he's not the greatest in the world. Yeah. Skullrot's B tier. This guy can be used as a good starter. His stun is good for harder content. Usually there's going to be a better alternative and you won't need to use him. Like an alternative for him would be like Pumpy or something. But yeah, he's not bad. His stun can be very helpful. Stewart, honestly, Stewart is not bad. I could probably put this guy even higher. Stewart's lucky good. He's a good tower. He has a horrible late game, but he'll get you through the early game, even in harder content. Zayn is horrible. This tower absolutely blows. Do not get it. That is a dev tower. Raziel is good. He's A tier. He's a really good starter. His late game is not wonderful, but his tier 3 upgrade is absolute bliss. He's cost efficient. You can spam level 1 at the beginning, and then once you can afford the upgrade 3, you can get the upgrade 3, and your mid game's basically set from that point. So good and harder content, great on Secret 1 as well. Cami is super good. Really great to pair with towers like glitchware, towers like taffy. Basically, great for melee towers. Really good for something like chase. Good tower. Dax is typically not needed. I don't really see a situation where you're gonna need to have Dax on the team. If you're playing multiplayer, he's helpful for sure. But if you like, I guess if you're doing harder content on multiplayer, I don't know. If you're doing multiplayer, it's probably not that hard. This guy usually isn't needed. He can be nice in multiplayer, but solo he's basically useless. Never needed. Noob is pretty good. Actually, move from noob past dexter. A noob could go in A tier too. I think some of these starters like this guy and this guy I would rather have, but noob's definitely not a bad choice. If you can get his prime, he's very good. His prime is extremely good. His prime would, if I knew every game that I would get his prime guaranteed, I would move him right here, but you know, it's RNG, so. Elvis is really good. Elvis is like pumpy. Elvis is great for harder content and good for, well, these guys are good for clearing those like second to last waves where you have a bunch of really powerful grouped enemies. Hank is not very good. His money increase is basically never needed. His damage is just lackluster to say the least. Jasmine sucks. Yeah, Jasmine is not very good. Roy, I'm gonna put Roy like here. Roy's not bad. He can be used as a good starter, and he can be used as a starter that has damage later in the game as well, especially with visibility. But so definitely not bad. I could see him being here. He's definitely not as good as Noob though, in my opinion. Taffy's broken. Taffy has more DPS than Glitch, and Taffy's prime is just absolutely busted. Absolutely completely broken. Phaze is really good. Best mid game unit easily. If you want to easily for the mid game, this is your guy. His damage and long maps is pretty good too. Like, yeah. Chase is pretty good. I'll put Chase top of B tier, or yeah, Chase can be used in harder content. Typically he's not needed though. You can use him as a starter and then get Phaze or something like that, and then you'll have that his late game damage too, which is not horrible, especially when paired with like Cami or something. But usually he's not really needed. You could just opt for one of these other characters instead. Martin's really good. A wonderful starter. Stun, AoE, cost effective, everything you really want in a character. This guy's really well rounded. And even though he's melee, he's not bad. And that is a dev tower, so that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and if you disagree with me, then you're wrong.